Hello and welcome, Christopher. It's such a pleasure to see you again, and I hope you're doing well.
Yes, same with you. Great to see you.
Great to see you too. So where are you at in this world?
I'm in the greater New York City area here in Connecticut. And
Nice.
yes, so getting ready for winter here.
Right. I'll be close to you in 2 weeks' time. I have a budget meeting with a client on Long Island.
Oh,
Yeah.
Long Island. Yes, not too far.
So I'll be close to you. So, we've both been in business for a long time, Christopher, and I thank you so much for making the time to share with our audience actually a concept which is very close to my heart, and I think also to yours. It's like staying sane, make it rain. And the concept actually is around the fact that only with a sane mindset today and with a very clear set of priorities and values, we are all able to actually stay focused and make sure we are going to make it rain, right? We have a lot of people out there who are very busy, but not really effective in what they're doing. And that's obviously owed to the fact that we have so much information coming in every day and so many things to take care of in such a high speed. And I know that you are somebody who's very much into, how do I make my vision, how do I turn my vision into value? And that's why I wanted to have this conversation with you today around how do we find clarity in the chaos today, and how does actually, what role does value play in that context?
Well, yeah, absolutely, Peggy. I would say that you really got to get a clear picture, you first in your business on what is the real challenge that the audience that you serve has. Overall, everyone's going to have a different challenge, of course. But, if it was able to be put into a bucket, what would be that challenge overall that most people would have that would like to be better? What is the result or results they seek and don't have? Now, when you could get a clearer picture on that, and you're just not another business that's throwing out content in this busy world with a lot of noise, with all these different platforms where people are getting inundated with so much information, you could be specifically aligning content that addresses that challenge that could be better and to those results that you see. Yeah. Now it's a matter of your audience. How do they gauge content? Is that social media, podcast? Is it at conferences, events? Is it blogs? Is it articles? Whatever that may be, knowing this information up front will give you the advantage over other people that are just throwing a lot of information, a lot of content out there and just seeing what sticks. And that's what's really going to help you provide more focus and clarity in this world we live in with a lot of content across a lot of platforms.
One of the prerequisites is potentially also to know your client, right? What I find a lot in my profession, I've been self-employed for over 20 years. So I'm an entrepreneur since over 20 years. And I've been kind of, phasing into mentoring more or less by accident. And it's actually one of my heart projects. What I find a lot is that the ideal client, it's a word which is often used, but often very misunderstood. So when you talk about audience, I think the relevance of knowing your ideal client and how to talk to them is something really crucial there. So how would you help your clients to actually define ideal clients?
Well, you got to do a survey. You got to do some kind of a survey or poll or something to get a pulse of. You can't just assume that, hey, I think this is a great idea and I got a great product. It's going to help so many people. I see people doing this with online courses and programs. You got to go out there and first hear it from the horse's mouth. Find out exactly, is this challenge great enough that somebody's willing to do something personally or in their business to make it better, to get those results that they seek. So I would say, doing a market study doesn't have to be something you have to go out and spend tons of money on with professional service, but something you can do on your own, even if it's getting response back from 50 people through your email list. It could be through a poll on LinkedIn. It could be just about any other area that you can get this information. And if you start to see a trend of certain things coming back, Well, there you go. And that's the areas that you would have to focus on. So it doesn't have to be rocket science, and you don't have to spend lots of money to get this information. Of course, it depends on what business you're in. If you're in some other businesses, it may require more, but I'm just speaking in general. If it's your, small business entrepreneur, solopreneur type.
It ties in very nicely with the title of the summit, because Stay Sane, Make It Rain is not a title I kind of woke up with in the morning. Actually, I did some DM activity over LinkedIn mainly, and we asked the question, what is, like, we gave them a choice, because that's typically easier to make a survey, give the people a choice, because otherwise you get a lot of different answers potentially. But like the key part of a lot of those entrepreneurs was actually mental health is one of the key subjects, right? And so if you Google around mental health, it has a lot of dimensions. But if you Google it, you have a lot of, items and themes around mental, health. So where does mental health tie into, being successful for you? Where does that actually play a role?
Oh, well, it's very, very important. It's the foundation of everything. I use emotional intelligence every day. I have to be self-aware in order to self-regulate. So every day I have to ask myself, what can I control and what can I not control? Well, it's pretty easy to sum up. I can't control other people in situations. Sure. Yeah, there might be certain situations that I might know about that I might have some control over, like maybe to avoid certain places because they may not serve me. Okay, I can do that. But I can't control other people in situations. But I can control myself. I can control my communication and how I communicate effectively with myself and others. I can behave in alignment to my communication in an assertive versus a passive aggressive way. It's my attitude towards things. Instead of seeing challenges as obstacles, problems as they are, no, I see them as opportunities, because without challenges and obstacles, we can't create opportunities to generate results. So I embrace them.
Yes.
So an attitude that's happening for you, not to you, and then emotions and how you respond versus react. Now, if I have a negative emotion, that's okay. That's telling me there's something unresolved within me that I have to address. Although I don't have to react from it. I can now respond from a secondary emotion, and then am I taking action? Doesn't mean I have to know everything, but if I'm prepared and I execute and measure to see what works and what doesn't and adapt, I can continue to take action. If I can focus on those 5 things every day, then I'm going to keep myself not attached to the outcome, but committed to the process from intentions rather than expectations to the outcome that are tie you up in the past and future. Absolutely. And present in the moment. That keeps my mental well-being in check and in harmony.
That is absolutely right. And I remember the last talk we had, you basically said something else, which I just want to add here. You said, why don't we swap expectation with appreciation and everything, kind of, and that's kind of the thing, right? An expectation is always future focused, whereas an appreciation happens today. And I think one of those, there are words which are overused in my, in my mind, like mindfulness, but basically what we're all seeing is the present moment is the only reality we have. And of course, a lot of people, the stress actually is always created by providing the next thought to the future. And if I always tell my clients, just make a little checkbook, like just, simple like lines in a notebook, and like note down how many times you catch yourself thinking about the future, right? Having a future related thought of fear or of an expectation. And you will see that even with a lot of mindfulness, we are still living a lot in the future, or sometimes even in the past.
Correct.
Yeah. So where do values tie into that? Because I know that you're very strong on basically with the subject vision to value. So when you talk about the value, is obviously the value you create in business and for others, correct?
Correct. Yeah, I would say with value, before you could give value, we got to also know what the values that we're operating. So for myself, I know with the people I serve, they might have different personality types. There might be different multi-generational types. ethnic backgrounds. But for the most part, I know in my business, I'm dealing with more task-oriented people, usually people committed to results and wanting to know how to do that. Now, they can range in different multi-generational types, from millennials to baby boomers to Gen Z, X, and so on. But if I'm going to give that value and create an experience and invite them to be part of that experience to get the value, I have to make sure that my values that I operate from personally and the people that I'm working with, whether if they're joint alliance partners, people that are part of my team, they're not going to always be the same values, but we have those shared values. Are we consistently operating from those shared values that we can align with our audience there? And for me, that's always transparency, honesty, and integrity. And if that can play into other people's that are ethical, trustworthy, valuing follow through, family-like values, when we can connect there, we have the ability to now deliver value, invite them to do their part to create an experience. And when they have an experience, they then value the service. They value the product.
Yeah, what you're saying basically is you have to make the value experienceable, if you could say that, right?
Correct.
So meaning a value only sticks if it's experienced.
Exactly. Value, again, if you think your product or service in itself is going to be the answer, well, I hate to be the wake-up call here, but no one's product or service is going to be 100% solve someone's challenge to be better and get the results. It's part of it. So it's how we show up with values as a trusted advisor to help create that experience, because people remember experiences. That's what keeps them coming back. It solidifies that rapport and then trust and then eventually respect, where now they come to you because they know that you can help them see the bigger picture.
Yeah.
In their business.
Yeah. So I can totally relate to that. If we're talking about the vision, I'm working with a lot of entrepreneurs. They have a vision. I just have this very cool young entrepreneur who just, finished his business plan, and he got the loan from the bank right away on the phone. So he was like over the moon with it. But all we did is we actually converted the vision he had for this business he creates into very tangible values. And actually, it's an exercise which is, I think, also very useful for entrepreneurs who have a business since a long time, right? Do we still create value? Do we have a new vision maybe we want to create, right? So that kind of leads me to a subject which is close to my heart. You know that we have started the Age of Aquarius on the 19th of November. I don't know, there's people around astrology. So it's kind of a new age, not to be understood wrong, but basically we're starting a new chapter. So, Christopher, sorry, we kind of go a bit into the future. So where do you see like the new tendencies, the new trends, the hey, let's open up to this kind of new world? Where do you see the items which are really going to be relevant in the business world tomorrow?
Well, I'm starting to see now that and I'm not going to say it's going to happen like in 2025 immediately, but we're going to start seeing a trend now. People are not going to tolerate mediocrity. And what I mean by that is mediocre service, mediocre products and services. We are paying more and more for services and products that don't deliver. I can remember having, when I was a kid, growing up, we had a refrigerator that would last for 25 years. And today you go out and buy a high-end refrigerator and you're lucky if you get 5-6 years from it. And unless you buy all the warranties that go along with it and that type of thing. So I'm beginning to see that people are going to start putting their foot down and now demanding better service. And this is where the technology, which is already there, the automation, while it does help, it also causes issues too. And this is why we have some low customer service ratings. So we really got to rethink how the automation and the real human touch, so to speak, the human contact experience can work side by side to create better experiences. And I feel that those organizations that step up in those areas are the ones that are going to be out ahead in their industries that they serve.
Yeah, I like that approach. I mean, it's really interesting. We have two things happening here. So the first thing is I have a GE fridge, and it's actually as old as my son. Otherwise, I wouldn't even know how old my GE fridge is. And actually, it's 15 years old, and it's only alive because I have one very, very smart Italian man who knows how to fiddle and prod and, do the whole thing. Because I had like two technicians here who said, oh no, the fridge is like 5 years old. You have to obviously get a new fridge, back to your point. And at the moment we have a legislation change here in Europe, and they're trying to force so companies who are actually producing things like washing machines and dryers and fridges to actually enable technicians that they can repair. Because the problem is not necessarily that they can't be repaired. It's just that almost nobody wants to repair because it's too costly, because the human resource is too costly. So that ties in nicely into that. So there is a lot of, change of mind, which will change, obviously, as a result, our industry and our economy. Right. Yeah. So digital product, what we're doing here, digital marketing, AI, where do you see that trend going, or where do you see authenticity going with that, or the human? What's the human's role in that kind of world?
Well, absolutely. I think AI is a wonderful platform, and I think it's going to be here to stay, and it's going to enhance and do so many things. Now, the question will become, if it becomes that you depend on it, and now that you can see it as doing everything for you, that might be a different situation. If we can see it as a tool and a resource to complement the things that we're doing, a blend of, again, the AI, leveraging its strengths to offset our weaknesses and to better value our time so we have more time from the human side to create better experiences, and allowing AI to do the other stuff that we would like to delegate, or the busy work, and then come together to really, prompt it correctly, that it's going to align and do bigger and better things, build better unity with our clients and our industries. I think it's going to be a game changer. And I feel that those organizations that can approach it strategically, from seeing it as a tool, but knowing how to not just use it, but know how to strategically prompt it correctly, so it begins to almost speak from your company's voice, so to speak.
Right.
And as the technology continues to evolve, it will just get better and better, but not just depending on it. I think as soon as we begin to depend on things, we start to lose our edge in other areas, and those are the very things where our competition get better at and take market share from us.
Yes, I mean, it kind of centers around identity, right? That's something else I do a lot with my clients. Like, what is your identity? What's your identity as a person? Because typically an entrepreneur has an identity, and of course this kind of shines into their company, right? But then I find a lot that there's lots of insecurity around that. Like, who am I in this business? Or why, like, sometimes the business identity doesn't align with the actual entrepreneur's identity. And that identity, I think, is something which can't be created through AI. This is something which will be only created by creating it authentically, knowing who you are, what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, and again, what value you can create for other people. So serving the client, serving your customer always comes first in my book, right? And to serve that client in the best possible way is you have to be very aware of what value you provide and what identity you actually have in that transaction. Right? Otherwise, it becomes very transactional. Where do you see in this very ever-changing world and around our subject here, basically converting opportunities into profit? Where do you see the biggest opportunities in the, let's say, next 12 to 24 months?
Well, I see right now that there's always opportunities around us. So again, it really depends upon the business that you're in. But I feel like where the opportunities are going to be is when not only you can meet the first requirement, so to speak, of what they hired you to do, but that you can go above and beyond. Not that you're giving too much for too little, but you're helping them now to meet what they've asked you to do, but yet see the next phase of where they're going to connect the dots.
Right.
I feel that's where it's going to be. We live in a world now, almost in every type of vertical industry, where there's constant change, technology's changing at rapid speed, and a lot of times organizations are reacting to these changes rather than responding. Now, if we can be in a more of a trusted advisor than just more than what we do, and then help them to achieve these very things, but yet leave them now where they can connect to the next objective, whatever they decide to do, that's going to create even more value and help them to grow and expand, and thus they're going to keep you around to help them do that.
Yeah. In your experience, maybe it aligns with mine, is kind of sometimes they don't see the forest for the trees, right? Because you get I'm sitting, sometimes when I mentor an entrepreneur, they have something so brilliant, but they don't see it, right? They're so entrapped in their daily work or in the weeds, as I say it, right? So sometimes I help them to climb the tree, right? Climb to the treetop, look down on your business, look down on your life, and kind of look what's hidden there. Look at the gems which are hidden there. And I think that points to what you just said. Yeah, beautiful. So if you want to share something with the audience, do you want to share some last tip or trick or something really, which is a Christopher Salem kind of, word?
Yeah. Well, I would say that, the 4 pillars of success that I operate each and every day from me personally, but also people that work on my team, my alliance partners. Again, we communicate, on a continuous basis, hopefully leaving no room for assumptions and speculation. Again, I can't control other people, but I have to do my best as the sender, the receiver, to make sure there's no assumptions and speculation. This way we can make sure we're all operating intentionally to complement one another to accomplish what we're looking to do. But that always starts with our foundation, having a strong foundation of what you talked about before, our mental well-being.
Yes.
We got to be able to utilize our emotional intelligence on a daily basis to be self-aware, self-regulate, and then be the example, be resourceful for others do the same. Number 2, we have to be prepared. And what I mean by prepare, meaning that we break down our goals and objectives. We just don't have a goal, but we break them down. We prioritize them, value them first, so we can rank them accordingly to make sure we're spending time on the most important objectives, and then using systems, activities to now, achieve them, make them attainable and achieve them as they roll up into bigger objectives that we're trying to do. Right. Then we got to execute on them, because if we don't execute on what we prepare, then we don't fulfill what we're looking to do. And then does that mean everything is going to work right? No. But we have to measure now to see what worked, what didn't, what can we adapt, what can we modify or change in order to move forward, and then repeat that process. So foundation, preparation, execution, measurement, repeat every day.
Rinse and repeat on all of that. And I think you made a very good point on the chunking, right? I call it chunking, because a lot of goals become very big, and they are typically big, right? Especially if a company is pretty, mature, you have to really break it down into small chunks to make it digestible, not only to reach the goal, but also to make it tangible for your team. So, Christopher, thank you so much for your time today. It's been an absolute pleasure, as usual, when I talk to you. It's always great to see you, and I hope to talk to you soon again.
Thank you so much, Peggy, for this wonderful virtual summit that you put on and an opportunity to serve again.
Thank you, and I'm sending love, light, and ladybugs. Thank you so much.